Hi, I'm Jamie with The Saving Secret, where I help you become more intentional with your money. In today's video, I want to talk through why the health savings account is my favorite retirement account. A few days ago, I had the opportunity to be on a financial podcast where I talked a little bit about my journey to financial independence, and I talked a little bit about my favorite retirement account, the health savings account. And today I really wanted to unpack why it's my favorite account and what you can do to get started. So if you're new to my channel, I share videos about how to be intentional with your money, but also help you on your journey. You may have questions about finance or anything else, and I'm here to help you get more clarity and work towards your long-term goals. So be sure to stay through to the end of the video where I walk through not only why the health savings account is so important, but I share a technique that I've used that's helped me save over $5,000 on medical expenses. And I will walk through a step-by-step process of how you can implement what I've done to save you thousands on medical expenses. So if you're new to this channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you smash that like button, and let's get started. So the health savings account is a retirement account that has special abilities like no other account. So when we talk about retirement accounts, typically you're talking about saving for retirement. And there's two schools of thought. They have to do with tax advantages, and they have to do with how they're taxed. Are they taxed before they go into your account and you don't have to pay after the growth? Or are you paying your taxes once you withdraw your money? So there's different schools of thought on which is better and which is more cost effective, and there's different tax advantages on each of them, and there's different rules of contribution limits. But with the health savings account, what you're able to do is you're able to contribute money tax-free. You're able to allow that money to grow tax-free. And you're able to pull money out of this account tax-free for qualified medical expenses. And this is huge. And the reason why this is huge is because it allows you to have early access to your money in a situation when you need it. I have a personal experience that can really shed some light on why would you need access to medical expenses to help you bridge the gap. Well, a few years ago, at the end of 2013, my son was born 8 weeks premature. Even though we had no complications throughout the entire pregnancy, for whatever reason, he was born 8 weeks early. Because he was born 8 weeks early, he was put in a NICU. And by putting him in a NICU, he was there to be monitored because he was a little light in his weight and he had some problems breathing. He was 4 pounds, 11 ounces, and he just needed a little bit more time to kind of cook in the oven, so to speak. Well, after a few weeks at the NICU, it was determined that he was allowed to come home. And we were super excited and so glad to snuggle with our little guy. He was an absolute joy. But then, after 10 days of being home, something happened, and he started to have problems breathing. And so we needed to rush back to the hospital. And when we rushed back to the hospital, they put him in the intensive care unit. After a few days at the intensive care unit, it was determined that he had RSV, which is basically a cold for infants. But because he was already released from the hospital the first time, he was not allowed to go into the NICU. They needed to transport him to a children's hospital over 3 hours away in Little Rock. So my wife took the helicopter ride with my son to Little Rock, and I made the journey 3 hours in a car to arrive in Little Rock. The doctors did some amazing things, monitored him, and after a few weeks, he was able to get released back home. Even though we did have to monitor his oxygen levels, we were so glad to have him in our home. Because he got to ride the helicopter gave him a special stuffed helicopter that is a reminder that he got to ride that helicopter ride. So we do have that special stuffed animal, but during those 8 weeks or so, it's really a very big blur of all the things that happened. But as you can imagine, after he was born, we started to get the medical bills. And the medical bills started to come in. And because my son was born at the end of 2013, he started having to pay medical bills for that year. And because of the NICU and expenses, we reached the max out of pocket with the NICU expenses and such. So our max out of pocket was $10,000. Because he was released from the NICU, then had to go back into a children's hospital in 2014, we then reached our max out of pocket for 2014. So in the period of just a few weeks, we owned $20,000 worth of medical expenses. For a young couple to enter all of these challenges with their first child, it really made it difficult. Now, we had saved and had some money set aside, about $6,000 ready to take care of some of the medical expenses, but we weren't able to take care of the full $20,000. So what I needed to do was to set up a payment plan, and I had arranged a payment plan for 2 years of $557.50 for 24 months. And throughout the first year, I just remember looking at this bill and all of the other things that we had, and we just kept consistently paying this bill, and we kept paying this bill. And about a year later, I was able to receive a bonus from my work, enough to cover the balance of that debt. And I was so excited to pay that off. But I was actually able to get a discount. And this is what I'm going to share with you in a moment of how I was able to get a 25% reduction on the balance of my medical bill. But just to let you know, my son is now 6 years old, and he suffers no complications from any of those medical issues that he had at his first arrival and dramatic entrance into the world. He's just a regular kid who loves to play with his brother and his sister and loves to play Legos. And it's just crazy to see how time has changed him and how he's grown into the wonderful young boy that he is today. So, I wanted to share with you the tips and tricks on how I was able to save 25% off my medical bill. And this is what I promised at the beginning I would walk you through step by step. So, how do you take advantage of this? So what you're going to need is, if you have a medical bill that's over $1,000, you need to make sure that you have the ability to cover the expenses. Unfortunately, not many people have their money set aside unless they've planned for it or had a health savings account. But if you have an emergency fund or funds available where you're able to take advantage of this, you can accomplish this. But make sure that you have the money available to pay if need be. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for the spot on the bill where it says billing inquiry or billing questions. You're going to call that number and you're going to make sure that you have your pen handy. When you finally get to a real person on the other line, make sure you record their name, the date of your call, and even the time in which you called. And once they collect the needed information, there's going to be some point in the conversation where they're going to ask you what questions do you have, or how can I help you? And so what you're going to respond with is, I'm calling to kind of see what my options are in paying this bill, whether it's discount or payment plans. I'm just looking to see what my options are. And at that point, they may offer you a payment plan. They may even mention some of the discounts. If they don't initially talk through discounts, this is where you can use the line, I was told that if I have the money to pay it all up front, that I could receive a discount. And I wanted to know what that discount was if I was willing to pay it all today. So they may come back and say, I don't know where you heard that, or let me check on that, or absolutely, whatever they say, they're going to come back with some kind of response, and they may offer you a discount of, let's say, 10%. And what you're going to say is, you're going to say thank you, but you're going to try to push even further to get a greater discount. And what you're going to say is, hey, if you're willing to drop this bill by 25% to this dollar amount, make sure you include the exact dollar amount that you're willing to pay, $750 if it's a $1,000 bill, I will pay this bill today. And they're going to come back on the line, and they may say something to the effect of, I don't have the authorization to give that great of a discount, or I'm going to have to check with my supervisor. Whatever it may be, have them talk with their supervisor and have them come back. Now, when they come back, there's only going to be one of a few things that are actually going to happen. They're going to come back and they're going to grant you exactly what you asked for. And that's what I've seen happen several times. Other things that I've heard of happen is they may not give you the full 25% discount. They may offer you a reduction in cost, or maybe a lower percent. And I would still take advantage of that. Or for whatever reason, whatever the plan is, they may not be able to offer you a discount at this time. But at least you've done your due diligence. But if they do offer you a discount, your decision and your planning is not over. Like I said before, you've gotten their name, you've gotten the date of your call. Now, before you give them the payment information, you're going to want to clarify that this constitutes paying the bill in full. That on their system, that they're recording that they are applying the discount to your account. But as far as the medical bill is concerned, that you are paid in full and you will no longer receive any future bills. This is something that you're going to want to make sure that they communicate to you, that they write in their call notes section, and that you record it on your notes. Then once you have all that information, you're going to make sure that you get the confirmation number that it all went through. You're going to want to get an email receipt. And after all of that has happened, then you're good to go. So that is step-by-step how to get a huge reduction in your medical expenses. So you may be asking yourself, how does this relate to the health savings account? Well, the only way to really take advantage of this huge savings is to make sure that you have dedicated savings set aside for medical expenses. And that's what the health savings account is and allows you to do, is to put money specifically dedicated for medical expenses. That's why it's my personal favorite account. I have had some experiences with medical expenses. If you ever talk with anybody who's had experience with medical expenses, be sure to share with them the benefits of the health savings account and see what you can do to start contributing to it. Now, there are certain limits of what you're allowed to contribute to each year, but it's not the only retirement plan that I put money into, but it's the first one that I make sure that I take advantage of. If, for whatever reason, you're asking yourself, well, I never get sick and I don't need to worry about medical expenses, even if you never touch the money in your health savings account, when you turn 65, it treats the HSA as a regular individual retirement account, just as if you used an IRA. So there really is no downsides to the health savings account, and that's why it's my favorite retirement account. If you enjoyed this video, be sure that you hit the smash that like button. Be sure to subscribe so you're connected with all the latest content that I come out with. If you have any questions about any of the specifics that I went over, or questions about how my son's doing, or how to take care of some of these medical expenses, be sure to write them in the comments below. I will respond. If you have questions about any retirement questions or on your journey to FIRE, please feel free to put them on there. If you thought this information was helpful, please be sure to share it on social media so other people can benefit as well. Thank you so much for watching this, and have a great day.